Okay. So, not routines as such are dangerous and become gods unto themselves. So, and I'm out of a little bit out of my routine for doing the lessons for the workbook of A Course in Miracles. I have some guests, and because of the nature of the weather and how hot it is here, we get some work done in the morning, and right now, in the late afternoon, I have a little time to talk a little bit about today's lesson. That's lesson number 174 from the workbook of A Course in Miracles. And it's a review lesson. And the review lessons are fairly self-explanatory. Of course, I advise all the time reading the review section that comes before each lesson, where Jesus discusses a little bit about what's been occurring and what is going to occur as we proceed with these review lessons. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And I guess the reason why I'd be laughing at this point in time is because, I mean, before you enter into the presence of God, the idea that God is but love, and therefore so am I, is sort of just a concept. But once you enter into that presence, you know the validity of the concept, and yet the magnitude of what lies beyond the concept when you actually experience being in that presence. And I don't know, I was going to talk a little bit about why some people, the idea that the time of revelation has been set by the mind, within the mind itself, and many people discuss and talk about how they want to have revelation and they're ready for revelation. But the truth of the matter is, when you have a revelation and you really do enter into the presence of God, you're really no longer, you begin to understand, first of all, why you've never fit in the world of space and time, and why you have so much trouble operating, and why there's so much resistance, and so much feelings of futility and meaninglessness, because in the presence of God, it's beyond the idea of total meaning. It's direct, pure communication, wherein which there is no separation. There's no separation whatsoever, and it changes you. And and many people think that they're ready to have the revelatory experience simply because they're feeling a futility and a frustration within the world of space and time. But until you actually are no longer, how do I say this? When you're ready, you're no longer destined or long for the world, because in effect you've come to the point in your own mind where you've tried to make it work, you've given it all the reality and meaning in it, and you just come up short at every turn, and every turn is the same. Every road leads to the same dead end. It all leads to death, and finally even death doesn't solve the problem, and there's nothing left, no place left to go in your own mind, and certainly nothing left to pursue in the world. And it is at that time when your mind, and I don't know if the right word is karma, and your dharma is no longer lies within the world, but lies beyond, and you're ready to take your place and begin to function, not as something seeking for satisfaction or anything within the world of space and time, but as a being, as a soul, as a spirit that once you enter into the presence, you understand both why you've not been able to be successful, why there is no success in world and space and time, and you also begin to understand the next part of this review lesson. Today I learned to give as I receive, because it is in that action of mind wherein which we receive everything that's available to us and given to us by the presence of God in our mind and by the presence of us within His mind. And all things are given there to be received by us, and the way we continue to create and experience life as the flow of eternity and infinity is to give as we have received, and you begin to lose the need for retention or laying up stores. It would be a good way, because there would be no reason. It becomes laughable to lay up stores for what? What is the purpose of laying up stores? What is the purpose of receiving only to squirrel things away for later, when the infinite flow of reality eliminates the idea of later and allows you to be in a condition of presence of now, wherein which your mind and your heart are open to receiving that which God would have us have, so that we can give of what we've been given freely, and begin to understand ourselves as being created in the image and likeness of our Father. Now, God only gives, yet we receive in order to give, because we are like unto our Father, but we are given too, so therefore we must give as we have received. And in the world of space and time, where everything is a single substance, everything is dream. It's a dream, it's an illusion. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what it is that you have in the dream. It's all substance of illusion. It's just all illusion, appearing as differentiated nothingness that the ego wants us to think we need and rely on in order to be who we are, when in fact we are sustained by the love of God. And as we receive the sustenance and give as we receive, we begin to operate under the laws of the kingdom, wherein which there is a flow. And everybody talks about the flow, and the flow is of eternal life and the infinite abundance of the kingdom. That here in the world of space and time doesn't really have a counterpart, although everything that we are given and receive within the illusion of space and time is likewise subject to our use of the laws of the kingdom, because it's just stuff of our mind, of illusion that we've made up, and has no solidity or reality separate from our making. And once our mind and hearts become attuned to our eternal and infinite reality, wherein which we're sharing wholly the abundance of the kingdom, there would be no idea or need to retain, because it's the retention that is death, the need to retain, the need to remain stagnant, the idea that if we lay up enough stores we'll be okay in the future, when we are no longer being given, which is a denial of the reality that God only gives. It's a denial of the lesson wherein which today we learn to give as we receive. And it's a denial of the reality of the presence of God, in which we live, breathe, and even in a sense make the illusion as a place where we can think that separation exists. Had we not been created perfectly, had you not already been created, you would not have the ability to dream. So you definitely are something. what it is you are, you discover as you learn to utilize the laws of the kingdom, which include learning to give as we receive. And as I've been told, and I tell other people as well, everybody, there isn't a single person alive who doesn't have something that he can give freely of, and in the willingness to give freely, not for the reason of getting, but simply because it's the nature of our being. As we learn to give freely from the truth of who we are and the nature of our being, then more is given unto us, because we're opening our minds and our hearts to that flow and the magnitude of the life that we live in reality and share with each other and with our Father, our Creator. So there would be no need to retain, because there's no future wherein which you would be able to use that which you retain. And yet, if you decide that there are things that you want to retain, you are assuring yourself of a life within space and time, living by the laws of space and time, wherein which you're saving up for a future time when something other is going to occur. And the whole nature of separation is that there's something other or something different than the whole perfect reality that we're part of now. So God is but love, and therefore so am I. Into his presence would I enter now. Maybe you can begin to feel that a little bit. It's allowing yourself to be fully engaged in life at every level. There's a line in the Course that says, if you are not experiencing abundance at every level, then somewhere you're not doing God's will, because God's will is for total fulfillment, total happiness, and total abundance. Now, that's not something to use to judge yourself by, but it is something to use so that you could allow your heart and your mind to be realigned and attuned to the oneness, to the atonement. And you begin to feel it. I mean, it's a flow of vitality, of life. It'll heal you. It'll offer you the supply of what you require in order to fulfill your function. It'll show you an efficiency there as to how to live life that bears no resemblance to anything of this world, but is based on divine timing, not the laws of the world, and not the nature of space and time as segmentations of the past, present, and future, where we can look at the past and say, okay, in the past I was lacking, so in the present I will save for the future. That's just one way to assure ourselves of death, not of life. Because life is eternal. There's nothing to save up. I mean, it is... When you begin to, and many of you are having these experiences, when you begin to really have these experiences, you see the absurdity of what you thought you were previously doing as having any resemblance to life. And you begin to remember that, oh, I get it, that's why we kept on dying, because we were denying ourselves our daily bread. by thinking there was a future in which we may need something more than we need it now, as if you, who have been given everything, possibly ever need anything. And the way you begin to understand that is through the giving, not through the retention. You really do begin to laugh at the absurdity of the ways of the ego in the face of the joy that you experience. As a soul in the kingdom, where your being is part of the beingness of all reality, and everything is available to you now. Love. You begin to experience love. Not for a worldly reason, but simply because that's what you are. And you're assured that you are that because God is but love. And therefore so am I. So enter into His presence now and see the ease which you can give freely of what you've received, with the understanding that you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get eternal life. You already are eternal. You're just going to remember the eternal nature of your own creation and how this is occurring right here and right now. You begin to laugh at the ways of the ego and the ideas that the kind of concepts that the ego uses to try to distract you from the truth and offer you once again death, which obviously doesn't solve the problem if the solution is love. So enter into His presence with me. And begin to recognize that you've been given everything. And you can freely give of the everything that you've received. And that is the way in which you assure yourself the remembrance of who you are and the non-necessity of having to learn any more lessons here within space and time. Okay, that'll be it for today.